Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good whatever time of day it is on this spinning planet of ours. Um, it is Frank and Andy here, and strictly speaking, we're not going to be talking about data science or data engineering. We're going to be not directly. So this is actually something that I kind of brought up before. I don't have title cards for the two of us together, but chances are if you're watching this, you kind of know who we are. I'm Frank Lavinia, that's Andy Leonard. And you can find us on Twitter. But ultimately, this was something that you and I were working on today because we actually are recording a podcast at next hour, and you didn't get the invite.
Right.
Now, part of this was, it was all my fault, right? So we've struggled with calendaring for a while because when I was in Microsoft, my calendar was a lot more predictable. Not totally predictable, but a lot more predictable and a lot more scheduled. When I switched to the startup, it was far more chaotic and kind of ad hoc and things like that. So that made recording new episodes with an actual guest, because remember, we're coordinating your schedule, my schedule, and the third, sometimes fourth person schedule, very, very difficult. In fact, we were all set to record something, and then the crisis happened, and we had to cancel on them, which reminds me we should probably dig up that email and sort that out. And actually, you know what? I will release this as a show, because I think it's germane to the folks who listen to us. And if you're watching, you'll see I put on the official data-driven outline on the screen. Yay. But so one of the things that I wanted to cover is kind of like how we fixed it. And ultimately, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to interrupt you there. You said we twice. So Frank fixed it. Just so you know, Frank is the guy, and the idea for this show, for us doing this now, came from me reaching out to Frank and going, "All right, you got to show me how you did it."
Right. Yeah.
So I am the Padawan.
You're the Padawan in this case.
I am. Yes.
But so ultimately, I was troubleshooting something today because when I found out you didn't get the invite.
Right.
It was like, oh crap, and well, that's not the word I used. I forwarded it to you, and then I'm thinking to myself, well, if the calendaring system is automated anyway, and we'll kind of cover that as kind of a look at it. But I'm like, wait a minute, I should be able to automatically add, if it's a podcasting request in Calendly, I should be able to just automatically catch that and then forward the invite to you.
Right.
And I think originally I looked at Calendly because I'm like, okay, let's see what they have. And then I accidentally discovered that they have I can add Andy to my Calendly account, but that basically doubles the cost of Calendly.
Right.
And I'm like, So then I thought to myself, and I think I used a quote from The Martian, right? We're going to science the bleep out of this.
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? Let me do that. And it took about 25 minutes by the time I realized that problem to basically a solution, which I think is a great testament, not to my intellect, although I would like to think that, but to the power and just speed of development that you get in PowerApps.
You have to share with everyone my response when you first shared the amount of time.
Yeah, it was actually, I think it'd be better if you said it.
I told Fry, I said, slacker. You should have done it in half that much time.
Right. And then I pulled out a joke that some people from Microsoft will get, that I was once a low-impact slacker, always a low-impact slacker. Speaking of Microsoft, Thomas says, happy Friday, you two. Happy Friday to you, sir.
Happy Friday, Thomas.
Thomas is, I have to let my alter ego shine. Yes. So ultimately, let me share the screen, and I will shrink our heads because we're just talking heads at this point. How's that?
That's perfect.
All right. So you go to make.powerapps.com. Now, for reference, I have a my own Microsoft Office 365 tenant, and I got it when I was still in the employ of Microsoft. So I basically got a very awesome discount. So, and I actually can still buy it in the through the alumni program. I can still shop in the company store.
Cool.
All right. So yeah, it's really cool. So let's see. All right. So part of what you get here is um, you get a lot of stuff with Office 365. I mean, just here's all the apps that you get. And can I open that in a new window? No, I can't. But these are all the apps that you get, and it's just basically per user, per whatever. And there is integration with Calendly and something called Add Event. I need to poke around that. So for the background on this, PowerApps is a low-code, no-code platform that's part of Office 365. So I literally don't pay any extra money for this, which was kind of like, wait a minute, don't I already have a subscription here? So what we're creating here, there's a lot of things you can do inside of PowerApps. It's a growing platform, fascinating stuff. You should look up, I think her name is April Dunham, and she does a lot of stuff on YouTube. Or just go to Frank's World and search PowerApps. But basically, we're creating a flow. I could create a chatbot. I could create an AI builder based solution. I could create an application. But right now, I'm creating a flow. And a flow is something that can be kicked off in the cloud. There is desktop flows. And I actually do have a couple of desktop flows that help in the production schedule of Frank's World. That I've actually started doing since I helped deliver the app in a day experience for a class for Microsoft. And that's when I really kind of tasted the Kool-Aid of PowerApps and was like, this is important. It's Dunham. I thought she spelled it differently, but yeah, April Dunham. Go check her out on YouTube. I mean, not now because you're watching us, but
right later.
So anyway, this was a problem, right? Because it was a problem on multiple fronts. So in terms of how I automated my blog production schedule, that's probably worth another stream on its own. And
you got that working like a night or two ago, right? Last night. Wasn't it late last night?
Late last night, I wrote something else, which I don't want to share that code yet because
I know. I get it.
Bad developer because I have the credentials like in the code, but but that was C# code. So what the ideal endpoint would be just a Power App. Now I can kind of, there's ways to integrate that, but I was up a lot later than I'm used to. And
it was like you sent me a text and it was like 4 hours old when I got up.
Right. Like, wow. It was, if you go to
Frank was up late.
If you go here, because it was just one of those problems that was just bugging me. Like, and I'm like, I'm not going to sleep until I get this stupid problem solved. And it turned out it was actually pretty easy. Let's see. So whenever I do a live stream, I actually have a Power App flow that will automatically, like this one here, I'll automatically cross-post it. There's actually a Power App flow that's monitoring my YouTube channel. So whenever I post something to the YouTube channel, it automatically creates a blog post.
Nice.
When I go and I create a blog post, here she is right now, April Dunham. There's the name right there. So it's spelled Dunnam, but pronounced Dunham, like Thomas. Yes, that is a profound statement. Any fool can write code that a computer can understand. Good programmers write code that humans can understand. Absolutely. Yeah, so that's her, April Dunham. She's now actually, I think, a cloud developer advocate for low code, no code. But I don't want to get too distracted because that's kind of in my nature. But ultimately, like, go to archives. You can kind of, so a couple of years ago, well, 4 years ago, there was an incident, and I don't want to get into that. But I basically lost all my blog posts from 2004 to 2017. I've been on a mission ever since to kind of like rebuild and rebound from that. And so that's why when you say that Frank's World's been online since for 25 years, but there's only 4 years of data, you can thank our friends at ClearDB for clearing me out. But
aptly named.
Aptly named. So one of the things I wanted to do was I set a goal in January in 2019 to have over 100 blog posts per month every month. And I set that for 2019, and I've been able to keep up with it until May of this year. And May of this year was utter chaos, and it actually exposed a lot of the flaws in my kind of streamlined content production system, which what I was working on last night was kind of like the final step in kind of, well, not the final step because there's plenty more room for improvement, would be to simplify blog posting. So right now, when I want to post a blog, say I see something interesting on YouTube, there's a lot of stuff I need to do still. Like, it's not as manual as it used to be, but I basically have a desktop Power Automate desktop that will, I paste in the URL, whether it's Channel 9 or YouTube video, it'll go, it hits the APIs, if there's an API. Channel 9, I do some good old-fashioned web scraping, and I basically come up with the groundwork for a blog post. From there, I edit the blog post, and then I hit publish, and then I have to upload this pretty little image here, so it doesn't look kind of completely awkward. What I figured out last night is I can do almost all of that programmatically. The only thing that I'm bumping up against is setting a category to a new post or an old post, which is kind of an odd thing. So it could be a bug in WordPress, could be something random. I don't know. But I am a lot further along to my dream of, hey, look, I see something, I've watched an interesting video, let me cross-post that on Frank's World. Boom, bada bing, bada boom, it's done. There's a little bit of Jersey for you. So that's kind of also something I've been working on. But today it was kind of like, oh, you didn't know about this recording we were doing, and one of the things I did. So let me go into Calendar Push, which is what I call it, and I'll load up Calendly and get a look. Calendly is an awesome service. I think it's just a little overpriced. Now, for those of you saying, Frank, you have an Office 365 tenant, why are you not using Bookings? Because I haven't figured out how to do this in Bookings yet. So if I go to my account, settings, no, account, calendar connections. So what prompted this was the fact that I have multiple calendars. I even have my old Hotmail calendar, which oddly enough, people still schedule stuff on. I have my Gmail calendar, which up until a few weeks ago, my family, everyone who kind of know me, would drop stuff in there. So I also had a work calendar that I'm no longer part of that organization. But one of the things that was really kind of the getting the podcast working was difficult because of the scheduling problems we've been having. What really kind of prompted I needed to solve the calendar problem was, even while I was at my previous job, I was actively interviewing, and that's a story I'll tell another day. But the problem was, how do you schedule interviews when you're juggling 3-4 different calendars? So I was talking to somebody about, actually, it was a PowerApps development job, oddly enough. And as I was talking to him, I was like, wait a minute, like, why can't I do this in PowerApps? So that led me to create this service here. I signed up for Calendly, and what Calendly will do is it looks through all of these calendars to look for free time, right? So if you go there now, go to Calendly, Frank Law, you can book time with me, right? And it basically looks for open slots of time, and it looks for open slots of time across these 3 calendars, or 4 at one point, right? And that was crucial in order to schedule an interview, whether that's for another position or whether that was for a podcast. So ultimately, this was kind of crucial. And then I was like, well, I've solved my podcasting scheduling problem too. Now, the problem with Calendly is that it only, if you see this, it looks for conflicts across 3 calendars, but you only have 1 calendar of record. So when something's booked, it only blocks out that time on the 1 calendar. which is extremely annoying. So that's when I had my aha moment was, well, why don't I just create a power flow that is triggered when something is created. So if you're not familiar with how PowerFlow works, it's a low-code, no-code platform that basically you have triggers. So when something happens, do this, right? And then there's actions you can take based on that. So the original plan, and there's actually a step that's now been removed, was that when someone booked something, when something was added to my office, my own personal tenant calendar, it would kick off this flow. And what that flow would do would be, it would create immediately a duplicate on my Google Calendar and on my previous employer's Outlook calendar. Now, one of the things I learned pretty quickly was if somebody booked time on that calendar and said interview with so-and-so, optically, that's not a good thing to have on your work calendar.
Right.
So then what I did was, if I want to create a new step, let's say I want to do that, right? So if I want to say Outlook calendar, instead of create an event, right? So instead of using and copying kind of the subject exactly over, like I did here for the Google Calendar, right? The start time, the subject, and the title, the description, all that. I would just basically copy over just the start and the end time and just put, I think I used the term copied event from personal calendar. So that way the time would be blocked and people wouldn't people mostly didn't block off time. So they saw like, oh, Frank's unavailable from this time to that time. Let me schedule a meeting after that. Does that all make sense?
It does.
So that was kind of what I did. Now, I was so proud of myself with this. So I'll just delete this. I was so proud of myself. But I realized, like, well, when someone schedules a podcast interview, like I told, there's a couple of firms out there that get influencers for us, which is really nice. Kitcaster, awesome folks. Yeah. Very patient with us over the last month or two.
Thank you, Kitcaster.
Yeah, definitely go check them out. And so I realized, like, well, wait a minute, that sets up my calendar. So how do I get Andy? And there's still a problem with this we can figure out. But basically, kind of the immediate short-term problem is when someone schedules a podcast event, right? So you'll see on Calendly, you can have like different types of events. And, so I've added this here now, podcast recording. Now, not only is this awesome because I can put the instructions in here, right? Like the typical questions we ask, because it's always like, oh crap, did you send the questions out? Oh, did you do that? Right. And so, but now what we can do is we'll schedule this for then. I'll say confirm, but I also get their contact information as well as kind of like, well, how do you want to do it? Because now we're not just an audio podcast. We'll do a live stream and it turns into a show. Like if you're watching us live, it's a live stream. If you're watching it recorded on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitch or Facebook, then it's it's a video. But otherwise, you could also be listening to this as a podcast. So, and then I have an empty field here for other, because who knows what else, right? Like, so if somebody wants to do a video but not necessarily live stream it, well, there's my handy dandy Microsoft 365 tenant. I can do a Teams meeting and record that. So, which we actually had a Teams call yesterday with a gent who just graduated from VCU and thought we would be the good people to ask advice of. So I guess we're the adults now. Oh, darn cool. Check this out. I love this. You want to become famous? Buy followers.
I want to become famous, don't you?
Viewers on bigfollows.com. And I love how they put the space in there, because there's probably this is clearly spam, but one, it doesn't make me mad because I'm worth spamming now on Twitch, which is pretty cool.
There's some filter somewhere knocking it out if they don't leave the spaces.
Right, exactly. So ultimately, that's kind of what it does. And what this will do now, my Power App, that remember, Calendly, and this is the thing that does kind of concern me, because I was always driving today. I was like, well, this is just a bit Rube Goldberg. Just a bit. And if you're not familiar with the reference, Rube Goldberg was, well, just do searches on YouTube. Not now, but he basically was known for making overly complicated kind of things. So there are points of failure, yes, I'm aware of. So what I did today was I took this when a calendar event is created, and I have a condition. So if in the body of the message, because when you do make an appointment with Calendly, it does send out an email and a calendar invite, but it has a certain text in the body. If it has this pattern match, right, it will, if it's yes, if no, it just doesn't do anything, it just continues. If it's yes, I will update the calendar event, basically duplicating it in its entirety. And here's a question: if April were here, or anyone who is a PowerApps expert, I would ask, do I have to copy over every field in order to make this work? Or does it only like save the changes? So what I do is I add Andy as whoever was already there on that to list, and I add Andy's email address, and then boom, it creates an event also on my Google Calendar as well. So when I get more calendars, when I start the next job, I will add that calendar too. Sorry, cut you off, Andy.
That's okay, Andy. And it when you add Andy, it sends me the email as well,
right,
with it for the invite, and that way I accept it and it gets on my calendar.
And then you'll know if that time doesn't work or not. So it's kind of now the ideal future state, the ideal end state would be when somebody wants to be on the show or wants to schedule time with the two of us. It'll scan your calendar, your calendars, because I think you have more than one, for availability. It'll scan mine, and it'll find kind of that joint part. Short of spending the extra money with Calendly, I'm not sure how to do that yet. However, as part of Office 365, there is something called bookings.
I wonder if we can hook into that, Frank.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the integration is a lot tighter with this. So there is a way. Get it now. I thought I already had it.
I don't think I have bookings, because when you shared yours with me, you had it, and I tried it, and I don't think I had it. I think it's like a.
So I don't understand quite how this works exactly.
You still there, Frank?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We had a flicker here.
I saw the lights go out.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what happened, but it's back now. So let's see. What's our charge? It was 100 earlier. Oh, it's down to 99 now.
Wow. It's regular. It's freezing up here at 88 degrees Fahrenheit. But in my home office, we're on geothermal, which is probably a topic for another show. It does not struggle at all in the heat, and I'm in the basement, so it's a 64 degrees inside my office.
Oh wow, that's nice.
And a marvelous 52% humidity because I have the dehumidifiers running at the same time. And this is actually something I should probably blog about, is I take the wastewater from the dehumidifier and pump it into my little garden, so I don't have to think. I get the water out of the air where I don't want it, and I get the water into the ground next to the plants where I do want it. You're
just all kinds of cool, Frank.
I'm into automation because if I have to think about watering the plants, it doesn't happen. So
there you go.
This way I will notice when it's humid down here. And I'll get crabby.
Dehumidifying drip irrigation automation.
What would be really cool if I can connect it to like Alexa or something else where I can turn the humidifier. That would be cool, because I have to sounds like a first world problem, right? Very tight. Well, actually, in order to record, because it is kind of noisy, I have to go turn it off because it would mess up the recording.
Gotcha.
Very tight.
Well, I've got mine running in the background. So I've got a window unit AC, which kind of sort of dehumidifies in here. Right. But so the noise filters, are they doing their job?
They are. Yeah, I can still hear something's on. but
Okay.
it's not. And when I go and I process this for the podcast, I can
Sure.
I can find that and
The noise
fix that.
filter works well on that because it's pretty constant.
Right, right. Rain barrels too. No, I don't have rain barrels. I thought about that, but
I do.
oh, you do? Okay. See, I'm
Yeah.
handy enough to be dangerous, so I don't want to cut into my I don't want to cut into my drain spouts anymore. Like, you know what I mean?
I
And when we
do.
first moved here, we basically gutted the roof, gutted the siding, gutted everything.
Yeah.
And I should have at the time asked the company, like, hey, can we put a rain barrel in? But that didn't happen.
I'll tell you what we got, right? And I'll dig it up and send you the link. It's pretty
Mhm.
slick. It was a kit. It came with a couple of hole saws, and because it can be different sizes and stuff. But we drilled, I think it was a 3-inch hole into our gutter to one of our downspouts, and it's got a piece that plugs into it. It's a really rugged rubber piece that plugs into it, and it works well. It kind of manages when the barrels are full. And then in the winter, you take that piece out, and there's another piece that caps it. And we're this
Interesting.
close. So our downspouts are white, and this is around back. So the only reason that's why we haven't painted this black rubber piece that caps it white. Nobody sees it but us. But if you painted that, Frank,
You wouldn't
it'd
know
be
it was
really.
there.
You'd have to
I
walk
like
up
that.
and
That's
kind of
cool.
look at it. It really is. I mean, it's pretty self-contained. It was like $50. I'll dig it up.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I like that idea.
We scored some barrels that were used in at the car wash. We actually got some of those barrels and was careful. We very carefully rinsed out the chemicals because very concentrated there. But I think we got the barrels for like, I don't know, $10 or something. We ended up getting 3 or 4. And anyway, cool stuff.
No, that is cool. So Thomas wrote, tight was in reference to bookings.
Okay, we'll
Which
check that out.
Bookings is super cool. I'm not gonna lie, like it is pretty epic. But there's a lot I don't understand about it to solve the problem. So ideally I would do this entirely in bookings because I already get this as part of my subscription. So
Yeah.
And maybe I have to create another calendar that I share with you, and then you find a way to sync that up. I don't know, like that's
I'm looking at it now because there's a lot. So I'm still old school. I've still got everything kind of running on my laptop here. That's not true anymore. I have a lot of stuff that's running out in the cloud because it's so easy to do now. And I don't have to worry about my hard drive failing as much as I used to. In fact, just last week I moved all of my projects folder, which has, I don't know, a decade and a half, maybe. Maybe more than that. There's probably some stuff in there from the early 2000s.
Wow.
All of that, I went out to OneDrive with it.
That
was a big thing for me. It was, it was a pretty big thing.
So that's the calendar push kind of. It is a bit Rube Goldberg because it does rely on 2 different services. There are ways, we were testing it this morning or late this afternoon, where it kind of did this weird thing where if you delete an event, like you have to delete a special way. And I mean, but it's still better than having nothing or kind of manually keeping it loose.
Oh, it's magic. I absolutely love it. And the 25 minutes, Frank was panicking. And then 25 minutes later, he's like, I got like a couple of tests. Bookings for the podcast, and then he created another booking that wasn't for the podcast. Good testing there, Frank. And I didn't get that one.
A wise man once told me that all software is tested, sometimes in production.
I don't know about wise. Maybe there's more after the word wise.
Wise guy. Or another 3-letter word.
Another 3-letter word, perhaps.
So I have a bunch of stuff that I'm working on in terms of PowerApps. So this is interesting. So I rarely engage on Twitter, maybe like once a week, just because it's a very toxic place. That's all I'll say. So what I have here, and this is another thing that's awesome about PowerApps, is this is literally no code, right? When I create a post and I connected my blog through the WordPress plugin and service, which is thankfully it's in preview because it's very underpowered. There's a lot of things you can do and you can't do. So basically, whenever I post to my blog, I go here and I basically share it to the Data Driven Media Company site, because the LinkedIn does not have for a personal page, does not let you post through PowerApps. I could probably make that happen through other means, but again, whole idea here is doing stuff that just isn't practical, or at least it's something I want to do. I just don't have the time to write the code to do this, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, and then what I do is that I also post a tweet. So every time now something gets posted to Frank's World, I now automate that. Now I can get rid of Buffer, because Buffer changed their terms of service and how their free plan and stuff like that. And I'm like, bye-bye. I can do it myself now, thanks to PowerApps. So, and then
you should do a class on that, Frank. Udemy course.
I should
converting your Buffer to
PowerApps.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then so this is remote publish. This is kind of the vision that I have. What I have is, you'll see it's failed because I'm having issues. But the idea is that I can be on my phone and have an app, and then paste a URL of a video or something, and it'll go and it'll kick off a desktop flow on a computer that's sitting at home, and then post to the blog.
That's crazy.
So that's something that's also in play, but we won't talk about it today. But so here's another problem.
Wait, you got to tell me who's doing that. Is that PowerApps?
That's PowerApps and PowerApps.
So that's like an agent. I love local agents. I am all over. So
right.
I just started tinkering with self-hosted integration runtimes in ADO. So and I've been doing it in Azure DevOps for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
But
let me show you this.
Oh my goodness.
So this is Power Automate Desktop, and I'm still on the free trial, but it's like $10 a month. It's totally worth it, I think.
Yeah.
Per user, right? So I'm the only one in my house using it. And if my kid gets into it to learn programming, awesome. If my wife wants to simplify things, that's well worth the price of admission. All right, so basically, this is the infamous blog poster that I've talked about. Mm-hmm. If I double click on it, will it edit it? There we go. And you can't see that because it does not do that. So let me reshare the screen. And I'm not sharing my screen. You know what? I'll share the whole screen. I'm not being cagey. It's just,
it's got your stuff in it, right?
It's a widescreen, right? So
okay.
I'm not flexing, I swear. All right, there you go. Hopefully, folks can see that. So I minimize this. Let's see. So basically, what I do is I fire off Windows Live Writer. Right, I wait 10 seconds, and then do send keys to do to fire off another product that I made, another thing I made. So I guess it already is kind of Rube Goldberg. So let me run it, and I'll show you what happens. All right, so I'm going to run this.
Okay.
And yeah, that's fine. That's the sample one I got. So I'm going to click OK. And you can watch this happen. So you see the blog poster flow is running. It fired off Open Live Writer, which is still my favorite way to edit blog posts.
Yeah.
And you'll see what it did was, now it's done. So what it did, it went out, used my plugin. My plugin calls other code that I've written.
Didn't you write a plugin, Frank, for the Live Writer?
I did, yeah. I actually, this is funny. The code to do this is, Open Live Writer is a open source fork of Windows Live Writer, which is like Windows XP Essentials Pack or something like that. It's old. Turns out, if you do enough searching to look on how to build one of these plugins, a blog post I wrote comes up. because I wrote the one. There used to be a site called Technorati, which you would like mark up. You would add metadata to each post.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I had a plugin that you just basically, well, what's the post about, and you put it in, and it automatically creates the HTML for you.
That is so cool.
You know what? I'm feeling adventurous. Let me open.
This is Frank being bold. This is live demos right here, folks.
Recent projects.
Typing in demos.
WordPress API.
You use the dark theme. You know, you're a real developer. If you
I'm a
use
real
the dark
developer.
theme. I am not. I still use like blue.
I was up late last night, so I switched it to dark.
I can't blame you. Yeah. Easy on the eyes.
Hang on. Let me go to GitHub. Got the code there. There it is. All right, so I'm going to copy this and file no. Clone repo. Clone. And this is where we whistle the Jeopardy theme. So ultimately what I do, let's see, open the code. There we go. All right, so what you get with this is you get a plugin test harness I created. It's basically a Windows Forms application that when you run this, I haven't actually worked on this plugin for a while, but there's some stuff I need to do to fix it. So
it's building.
Build failed. Come on.
That is impossible.
Oh, I know what that is. Yeah. All right. I have some DLL issues, but let's go here. And this is basically what my there you go. This is what the
What's
form
that green
like.
text?
Comments. Oh,
sorry.
Sarcasm. All right. So this is what the plugin looks like, and you can define what that looks like. And as you add attributes, you add basically certain attributes to it, like what it is, you know, and this way LiveWriter will pick this up as a plugin.
Right, right.
And you basically, my install process is I copy and paste it into a certain directory, and it's nothing fancy. And so I basically have code here that will dialog results, form.video content. Has this code here. Come on. No. This will basically go, and I'm going to sneeze, so I might go on mute for a second. Oops, there's my, hopefully I didn't reveal my YouTube API key. Oh, okay, good. It's hidden. Which I know is bad. I have it in code. But ultimately, this will go, and this will go hit the YouTube API. So if I go back here, and let me close this out, and I pick a YouTube video. So let's say YouTube. YouTube. So actually, I may do this, put this on the blog later. All right. So, and her video editing skills are top notch. I'm assuming she's doing it. I don't know. All right. So as I do this, what's actually happening is that it passed that as a parameter. And now that is going to, it's going to do the send keys now to do the shortcut to pull up the Word LiveWriter plugin. And then basically, let me move this URL up. Some things I don't want to share.
Right.
So this actually went out to the YouTube API. I have the title that moved in there. I have the tags. And let's do this. And
Daddy?
Hold on a second. Yes.
Did you let anybody outside?
No.
Okay, did you let anybody outside?
No. All
Why
right.
do I have escapes?
All right. Seems like one of the dogs escaped, so I might have to end this stream a little early.
Oh no, and we got a thing coming.
and we got a thing coming up. So
Yep.
hopefully that kind of clears up some of this. Never a dull moment, but I'll see you again in 15 minutes, Andy. Thanks everybody for watching. And if you like this type of content, like me watching me struggle and get comment below, I'll do it again. All right, with that, I will end the stream. You all have a fantastic day and a fantastic weekend. Andy, I'll see you in a few minutes.